The next train on platform 1 goes to...
Domain's house clearance is on again. Get in while stocks last. Sydney house prices for an absolute bargain. 1-bedroom apartment in Ashfield, $700,000. Crazy kid in the bathroom. Hasto median house price, $922,000. Oatley prices smashed to just $1.5 million. Get out of here, Generation Y. Not for you. Balcombe Hills average house price, $1.15 million.
Bargains.
But why go for a house when you can get an apartment for just $820,000? 6 years to save a deposit if you're a couple. 12 years to save a deposit. Sutherland, median house price, $200,000.
Oh, that actually might be alright.
Times a fucking million. Lower your standards. Wentworthville, on the cheap for $995,000. Dr. Domain's gone a little bit crazy.
The starting point for first home buyers to get a good job pays good money.
Keep saving and watch your dreams drift further and further away. Why not buy in Lane Cove? What are you, an idiot? Holsworthy, $730,000. Doubtful Creek.
Where's that?
It's near Jamboree. Just $500,000. What, you think you're too good to be a farmer?
No, it's just...
The age of entitlement is over. How'd you like to dip your tippy toes into the water?
Are you serious?
DY, 1.4 million median house price. Or move to Lithgow. Fill a bucket with your stress tears and let the ocean come to you. Forestville, just $1.28 million. You've made the smart decision of being born 50 years ago. Why shouldn't you be rewarded? Make the right financial decision. North Ride, just $1.46 million. Deal with it. Move to Penrith.
The best growth areas.
Penrith, $650,000. Plus 2 hours commute. Time is money. You should have invested 7 years ago. You should have spent
More time.
And more time. And more time.
And more time.
And more time. And just more time. Parramatta prices slashed, just $1.35 million. Household debt over 100% of GDP. Prices increased 21.5% across Sydney in the last 12 months.
If housing were unaffordable in Sydney, no one would be buying.
Go fuck yourself.
You're gonna have to excuse some of the like horrible noises that kind of come out of my mouth or my nose in the next
that's fine.
little while.
That's all good. They'll be even louder because they'll be really compressed.
Perfect.
Is it Richard or Dickie? Like, what am I supposed to call you? I don't really know.
Oh man, I don't even know myself, to be honest. Richard is my name, but it's very uncommon that happens. It's usually just Mum if she's kind of...
Right. We don't really know each other. Once I played the show that you and your housemates put on, you put on gigs.
Yeah. Yep.
Under the name Psyched As.
That's it.
And you started on these actual house gigs. What was the sort of birth of it?
Yeah, so it was like me and Brad, we'd been looking for a little space for probably like 18 months or 2 years before we actually moved into the house. And just on a side note, we actually signed another 12 months today on the house. Yeah, we went in, all the four of us went into the house this afternoon, and so we've got another 12 months locked in.
That's awesome. That's great news.
That's awesome. It's awesome. And we're super lucky. Like, that's the other thing. There's so many little things that play into, I guess, why we've been able to put on a bunch of shows over the last year when there's so much kind of talk around, I don't know, places getting shut down and noise complaints. And like even with Vivid, where...
Oh, the King's Cross Hotel, was it?
Yeah. They get shut down at 9:30, and like, and that sort of, I'm just like, fuck, how do we get away with it? But we're just so lucky because like, we found just like the best little spot tucked away, like on the eastern side of like Petersham on the main street there, and we're next to a Smash Repairs. Our neighbour himself is a cool dude, Rowan. He like has a little art gallery in his shop front.
Yeah, you said he played one of the Psyched As shows.
No, he didn't himself.
Oh, right.
But he's totally on board with it, man. He's been to a bunch of them himself. He's an absolute legend.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so we're just super lucky that, like, I mean, he's pretty much our only other neighbour. He's pretty much our only neighbour. And he's just totally cool with the idea. So, yeah, we're just, like, in this little spot where we're just super lucky that, like, it's all just worked in our favour. And, we've also been kind of conscious of the fact that, you know, if you try and run things too late or have bands playing too late as well, we've tried to like minimize the impact by having like reasonable set times and...
Totally. I love the fact, and they do this at Wayward's as well. The first band starts at 10.
Yeah.
And the hourly slots give so much freedom for the bands to really, if they play short, it doesn't matter too much. If they play fucking long, they can play fucking up to the time pretty much. And that's a really nice thing to have as a band. So, but it is interesting that there's gigs getting shut down in King's Cross 9:30. But, you find the right place in the right, close enough to the city for it to be easy for people to get to, and people want to go there, and still have the comfortable the community attitude around you of that it's acceptable. Yeah. What does that say the difference between Petersham and King's Cross? I mean, it could just literally be higher density. You won't find a place like that there.
Yeah, well, King's Cross has changed, I guess, a bunch. Like what's happened with lockout laws, where they've sort of pushed out the late night crowd, and more sort of like residential developments come in, and there's more of a now, I guess, like a normalization of less activity there.
Like every fucking other suburb in Sydney, it was the one place.
Well, that's the thing. Like the idea of a city is where, I guess, people from all different walks of life and people that enjoy different things can come together, and those things can be enjoyed in certain areas and maybe somewhat harmoniously. But I don't know, at the moment in Sydney, I don't think there's like an overriding conspiracy theory, but there's just a lack of, like, a disregard for the sort of cultural scene at the moment, and a sort of an idea where
it's sort of an inconvenience, isn't it?
Yeah, because there's more money, or there's more sort of like progressiveness to be had with other things, as opposed to like holding on to like an old pub that has like 200 or 300 people come to it on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. Yeah. As opposed to maybe like 500 people moving into an apartment building and a few shops opening up and something like that. Like there's more, in terms of like the way I think the New South Wales government see it, is that there's more value in that. Totally. As opposed to holding on to like some of the smaller niche little
what votes
like,
are they
cultural
getting?
institutions and whatever.
You do wonder how many votes are in funding the arts properly, and funding the arts means not just funding the intellectual class arts, there's you fund everything. I remember a couple of years ago there was a bit of a furor, that's not the right word, that's Hitler. There was a bit of discussion about how the government was paying so much for opera, doing so much opera funding compared to other stuff. I don't know enough about music funding to really comment on it, but as an attitude thing, absolutely, there's no question about it. It's an inconvenience. There was once a push, maybe in the 60s, 70s. Yeah. And then ever since then, it's just been cuts.
Yeah, and there's been, with Sydney in particular as well, there was like a definite shift in terms of the sort of like pubs and clubs and stuff with this sort of certain licensing that came in, I think, through the 90s, like Pope or whatever it was, place of public entertainment. It made it harder to put on live music in your venue, and it made it easier to put up like TV screens and pokies, and it was easy money, and it was just an easy grab, and so that was the way that a lot of places went. And so there was like, that sucked out a lot of like old corner pubs and everything. Like Sydney was, I mean, I haven't been here my whole life, but from what I can understand, like basically every corner hotel and pub and everything had a stage and bands played there, and that's sort of been taken away and watered down through sort of certain measures and policies and whatever. But the awesome thing is, though, on the other side of that is that people, I mean, I guess it's sort of like what we're doing as well, but like people are just going to take it into their own hands, and they're going to do what the fuck they want. Like, well, yeah, you can try and say like, no, like you can't party here after this time, and you can kind of try and shut certain areas down that you think are a bit of a problem, and whatever, but people are still going to do what they want to do in terms of like entertainment and going out and socializing, and that's what people are doing.
And is it just more that there are just these no-go zones? Like you just have to have the right elements. Like it just needs to be. Because I used to live in Darlington, You know, and it's around Sydney Uni, lots of students.
Yeah,
You'd think it would be
cool
that
little
kind of
spot, actually.
Yeah, great. I was on Abercrombie Street.
Yeah, so tucked away out of the... Like, I lived in Sydney for, like, 2 or 3 years, and just, like, one day randomly was walking through there and was like...
What the fuck is
this
this?
little spot?
Where did
it's
this
like
come from?
Little country, like, street through...
Well,
like...
most of the suburb is Sydney Uni, so Darlington's really just a few streets.
Yeah,
it's just weird. But we had... this is actually pretty weird. So we would have I was in my early 20s, you know, it was just we were just having heaps of parties, and they were really good, which was awesome because I didn't think I'd be able to pull off a good party. We pulled off for a couple of years. And we had this one nightmare neighbor.
Yeah.
Because it's all terrace houses. Everyone's pretty close. He was a few doors over it. They put their master bedroom facing the back, which is insane because it's everyone's backyards. Like, that's where the noise is going to come from. You don't fucking do that. Anyway, so they did that, and it was just this old guy. He was fucking crazy, and every time he would just yell out, and he just got... I remember once I was pulling down a balloon the day after, and comes out on his balcony, he's just like, "You should put that on your head." And then walked inside really angrily. Anyway,
those are some of the people that you have to deal with now. That are
but we got the cop. We had parties once the cops came before 9.
Yeah,
my friends hadn't even got there yet. Like, it was, and then they came twice. So then they came again before 10. So that's twice before 10.
Yeah,
like, how fucked is that person gets right of way? Fun fact. Sorry, I do need to get this in.
Go for it.
Did you ever see that footage of the guy who interrupted Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week? He, like, jumped on the catwalk and he's like, "You have no respect for the neighbours. This is too loud."
I did see, like, that flash through my feed at one point, I think.
That was my neighbour. That was the neighbour.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, no shit.
Like, so I guess he was a pretty bad example.
Yeah. Oh, well, like, maybe not a bad example. Maybe, like, somewhat of a typical example almost, you could say.
He's kind of an archetype rather than an exception.
Yeah. But, like, I don't know. See, there's this thing happening now as well in Sydney where you've got a sort of oversaturation of maybe, like, people moving into certain areas that are attracted to them for their sort of cultural history and what they're about, but not necessarily willing to sort of buy into that idea and accept some of the other sides of it that come with that. Like, even where we are, actually, either side of us. So we obviously receive letters from the new Inner West Council. That is what has been taken over from all the other little boroughs. Yeah. And so
undemocratically, strangely enough.
Yeah. There's a whole.
It's kind of, when you look into it, it's kind of fucked up. Like, no one got to vote on that.
Well, that's it. You know, there was a bunch of people doing some really awesome stuff, and still actually are. But you know, like Darcy Byrne.
Well, Leichhardt, he was the mayor of Leichhardt, right?
Yeah, and he was like pushing this whole sort of like Parramatta precinct, and sort of like trying to cut the red tape in general for little spaces and places that wanted to put on whatever it was they wanted to.
But what happened to that? Because that was supposed to be focused up Parramatta Road. It was supposed to be this sort of thing, and
so
all that happened was the Annandale turned into another pub,
Pork Slider pub.
Yeah.
Well, so actually, so it was
sorry. There's a
someone's just had a dump. That's nice.
It's a tall house, man.
Yeah.
Shit's gonna fall. Right.
Into the 21st century.
That was an exciting time, wasn't it?
It was,
the Olympics.
Wasn't it? Yeah.
Remember the Olympics?
Whoa, I mean, I wasn't here for the Olympics. I was still living in New Zealand, so like.
Oh, right, okay.
So like the Sydney Olympics to me wasn't actually. Do you know what? So you know the fucking orange XLR cables that we have in our house? Can you picture them? Maybe you can't.
No, but
we have orange XLR cables.
So that's how you know that you're yours?
That are coming. Well, no, but like, so these are just the cables we brought off this like dodgy dude who sold us a PA for the house.
Is it funny, all these fucking back-end rooms that you have to go through in this business?
Yeah.
All this shit. I'm just like, I don't know if this is going to work.
But those fucking cables were the cables that lined the 400-metre running track at the Sydney Olympics.
Oh, shit.
That's why they're orange.
Whoa.
To match the, like, fucking running track colour.
That's fucking... And they're still working.
Yeah.
That's fucking 17 years.
I know.
That's great.
So, like, who was it Nikki Webster? Her voice has travelled through those cables most likely.
Yeah, and fresh start at that time.
And, like,
best
Kathy
cables
Freeman
in the world.
probably fucking run exactly, like, past the cable that was connected to your DI for your sample pads and shit.
Yeah, probably.
How
it's like water has a memory. It's like cables. What have they been through?
Kathy Freeman,
I'm pretty sure all my cables.
She probably fucking technical fouled and stood outside of the lane and stood on that cable. Her sprig mark is probably in that fucking cable.
You got fucking Australian history in that cable, man.
Kathy Freeman's sprig is stuck in that cable, man. Yeah, this little space here is perfect, man.
Yeah, and but these spaces are...
Well, that's it. Like,
rare.
I mean, yeah, and it's still doable, but yeah, and that's the same thing with us. Like, it's purely just circumstantial with where we are and who our neighbours are or who our neighbour is why we've been able to kind of do what we're still doing. You know, because it does seem like at the moment it is in the favour of just someone being able to make a complaint, and we've come across that ourselves. We got shut down one night. There's a couple of things that played into that as well, though. We were super late with bands starting, and we still had...
Which night was this? This was the Jim Mitchell's, right?
Yeah. So this is back in February when we sort of collabed with Third Eye Stimuli and a couple of their bands and Dinosaur Records. Yeah, so we sort of got like everything kicked off a bit late. First band rocked up, sort of like...
What was the lineup?
We had Galaxy Girls, Environments came up from Melbourne. Those guys are amazing. Environments, yeah. Yeah, really, really cool bunch of like young dudes. Doing just some really cool like guitar, pop, like...
Yeah.
And then, yeah, we had Uplifting Ballons and Jim Mitchell's, closing it out. And so it all kind of was like running pretty late. I think Jim Mitchell's was still playing at 1:30, which was about the time he got shut down. I know it was a little hazy that night, to be honest.
Right.
As it sort of happens there, eh? But yeah, and then so we
how far did Jim Mitchell's get into the set?
They got through. Well, I think they definitely got through like most of their set. But it was sort of upsetting the way that the police came and like approached us and dealt with it as well. I remember walking out the back of the house, and because I was in the room sort of like running the desk, and then like one of the other boys come running in and they're just like, "Fuck, dude, cops out the back." I was just like, "Oh shit." So like went out there to try and see what was going on, and they were just like super aggressive about the whole thing as well, which was like, we were just trying to be like, yo, okay, so like everything's like pretty cool here, you know, we've got this under control and nothing like absurd's going on, you know. People are just like enjoying themselves, and fuck, we just got a band playing there, and they were just like, you better fucking shut this down or we get the dogs coming through like right now and blah blah blah, and I don't know, so like just the whole attitude of like, I don't know, you know, the sort of government sort of side of things is just, they just don't care for it at all.
No, it's
they just don't see the value. They don't see the value at all, and like people coming together and listening to like local bands playing, and
it sucks because, you know, you guys have taken this into your own hands. You've put on a series of fucking great nights, but inevitably you can do it yourself as much as you want. You still have to answer to when the fucking cops come.
Yeah,
you still have
100%.
to answer to penalties and, you know, with risks of things, and
28 days, no noise notice,
exactly,
kind of shit and whatever. Yeah, so there is.
Yeah, well, we were supposed to play a night, and then we had to get the date moved because of that 28 days of no noise.
That was after the February show, yeah.
Right,
we had to
yeah.
push that one back, yeah, where you guys played. And yeah, so like, yeah, absolutely. So like, you can still try and do your own thing, but yeah, at the end of the day, there's still a sort of overriding like authority that can just be like, nah, like pull the pin, you're done. Yeah. But in saying that as well, so Darcy Byrne, even though he has now been sort of cut out from his role in the Leichhardt Council, he and there's another lady, Kerry Glascock, who was behind like 505 and stuff like that.
Right, okay.
Part of this like live music office in New South Wales. So they've just in the last.
Is this Music New South Wales, or is this the live music?
Live music
the task
office,
force?
I believe. The task force. Yeah,
right, okay, yeah.
That's been put together, and so they actually about a month ago released a report and sent it into the New Inner West Council about sort of like these steps and measures they could take to basically like reduce all the red tape for little spaces to open up and put on sort of cultural events through like the whole realm of whatever. And so there are still people out there sort of championing it, and maybe hopefully.
What's Darcy? It's Darcy Byrne, right?
Yeah, that's Byrne,
so the
I believe.
Former mayor of Leichhardt, Darcy Byrne. Well, what's
Yeah.
his current position in the new amalgamated Inner West Council?
I actually don't know, to be honest. I think where it's at now is that they're still in the process now of they'll be electing new councillors and whatnot sometime later this year. I think maybe around September or something. So it's sort of all up for grabs again, I think. I
probably should open that letter to the electoral commission. It's literally over there somewhere.
That might be just a fine.
You moved to Sydney 4 years ago. Were you kind of living around there the whole time between then, or were you kind of in a city, or?
So in New Zealand.
Yeah.
No, so I moved straight. Well, I went over to London for 6 months, travelled around the UK for a bit, then went back to New Zealand and was kind of just like, oh no, that's right, this is a bit crap.
Yeah, you got that post-travel London
just
shit,
like, just like, I'm a fucking free spirit now, I'm a wanderlust and all that
Everyone
kind of crap,
fucking gets that.
Oh, let me travel.
I travelled for 6 months. I came back and I was just the worst.
I'm changed.
Yeah.
I'm now so much more open-minded. And,
yeah.
Then came to Australia after that. Moved to this little place. I don't know if anyone's heard of it. It's called the Gold Coast, and probably no one should hear of it. Because it's pretty gross, but
is it really? I've never really explored. Is it really as bad as everyone says? Like, as in culturally,
certain like if you kind of are in surfers and like Broadbeach,
sure,
and they're like that heart of it, it's pretty gross.
But that's like you could say that's the George Street of Sydney.
Yeah, that's it. Like, I mean, every place has its own
George
thing
Street,
going
the fucking
on. Yeah,
shit mile.
And so like if you hang around there, then you're gonna get that. But you can move away from there, and there's like little areas. So like moved down to a spot like near Burleigh called Miami, and there was a cool little the Miami Hotel like Shark Bar, which has like a bunch of like just like interstate touring bands play there as well. So there was a cool little like live music venue.
Is that
just
still around?
From home. Yeah. Actually, I was just up there like 2 months ago with my family. We went there for a holiday, and one of my mates' bands who's played at the house, Kimono Drag Queens.
We played with them.
Yeah.
We played with them at the Vic.
Yeah. So Billy, who's one of my mates.
Yeah, he's a nice. Is he the singer?
He's a drummer.
Right. I don't remember if I spoke to him, but they were nice guys.
Yeah, they're fucking awesome. And they were playing up there when I was up there a couple of months ago, so I went and saw them play up there as well, which is really nice. It was like so familiar, that whole area and that whole bar, but it was
right. So even with that much time passing, you'd still say pretty consistent.
It felt familiar, but it felt a bit strange being back there.
Right.
Nice though, nice.
Yeah. And I can definitely understand that. You know, well, not really to the degree that you can, because I still live in the city that I grew up in. So, so not at all.
I'm paid. I work. Bees like honey too. Hello, parsley.
Okay, so it wasn't Dunedin. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in a place called Taranaki, which is halfway between Auckland and Wellington on the west coast.
Right.
Very, very sort of rural area. Yeah, nothing like. I mean, we'd get some of the like touring Kiwi bands coming through.
Right. Who would come through?
So bands like the Checks. We had like She Had was a big band, and the D4.
Oh, the D4.
The D4,
yeah,
man.
I
They
fucking
were awesome.
my old band played with his new band, whose name I can't even remember.
Okay.
But I was just like, D4, man, I
Yeah.
have your albums.
Oh,
I'm so
man.
excited to meet you.
Jimmy Christmas. That's his name.
Is that his
he's-
fucking name?
Jimmy Christmas is like the
shit.
singer from that band's name. Yeah. The Datsuns.
Datsuns.
Man,
yeah, they were
yeah.
good as well.
Man, they
Motherfucker
were-
from Hell.
Yeah. Harmonic Generator, all that stuff, man.
Ah,
Like,
fuck.
those
I haven't
guys
thought
are
about
amazing.
the Datsuns in years.
Yeah. Actually, I went and saw them at Factory maybe a couple years ago.
They played a couple of years ago.
Yeah, the Factory. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. They're still releasing albums, but like not like they used to. I guess they had
No.
their time and place.
Yeah, it's a bit like that with there's a couple of bands, I don't know if you know them, Australian bands like Dallas Crane. Actually, you know what? I'm not even going to go there.
Look, I've heard the name. Let's say that I've heard the name.
Yeah. Well, I think that there's a lot of value in bands reforming. Sometimes I find it a little bit harder to get into them after they've reformed.
Yeah.
But I don't know if there's any actual reasoning for that. That might just be just bullshit in my brain. So you grew up in this rural area. What was the name again?
Taranaki.
I'm not even
Taranaki.
Taranaki.
Taranaki. That's that. You can say Taranaki, but that's just
I'm not
bit-
even going to risk it.
No.
So there was not much music. So why were they coming through? What was the reasoning that they were going through your towns? They were touring. They were stopping, or
Yeah, no, this
just
was
the bus
just
would
like,
stop to get stuff.
Yeah, pretty much. They were just kind of like lost, and they were like, well, "Fucking, where can we get like a pie and like maybe have a sleep for a night?" But no, yeah, it was definitely like maybe the polar opposite of what it is to grow up in a city.
Yeah.
Where you had like only a select handful of bands come through your town at certain times. And so, yeah, it wasn't like actually growing up as a kid. Yeah, it wasn't something that I was like super exposed to, was like regular live music.
So what was the kind of evenings like in your family?
Yeah.
And in your neighborhood, what were the kind of things that would happen on nights and weekends? Was it... How do people get their sort of cultural fix? Like, I don't mean that in a snobby way. I mean, like, shit like that just happens.
It's a fucking good question, because growing up in the country and not having like readily available, bands in a city is it's such a different thing. Yeah, I guess, I mean, you'd have local bands that would be in your town, certain levels. And then you
Sorry, the cat.
Yeah. Did you get that?
No, I got the meow.
I think it's hungry. Or
Yeah. I give him food when he goes to bed.
What's the cat's name?
Fitzwilliam.
Fitzwilliam. I like that.
It's my girlfriend's cat.
Yeah.
I hated him. I hated cats. I hated him. I was not a cat person.
Well,
and now I fucking am making videos about him.
they're a strange. Yeah. Well, it's just a star. It's a star player now.
Yeah.
Starring Fitzwilliam. Does he get a credit?
No. But Psyched As has been a huge success. You've had even just that lineup. You said the Uplifting Bellends, and then a band I hadn't heard of, but you recommended.
The Environments.
Environments,
Yep. First
And,
interstate band we had. Playing in the house.
Yeah. And the Jim Mitchells. You've had Spod play.
Spod. So that night there, I guess maybe we could put it down to a Psyched As night, but that was actually our mate Ryan Saar.
From FBI.
Yeah. It was his 21st actually, and so he put together like a pretty stellar little lineup.
I have no perspective on people's ages.
Yeah, no.
I'm 28, so like
I'm 31, man.
Are you fucking serious? Are you joking?
Yeah, no, I'm not. I wouldn't joke
Dude, that's
about that
fucking
shit,
crazy.
man.
I was gonna ask you before we started. I'm just like, I need to ask Richard, as I knew you then.
Yeah.
I need to ask Dickie how old he is because I feel a little bit like, you know, on that edge.
Mate,
when you hear it's like people's... No, but like when you hear it's people's 21st and stuff, like inevitably when you're just like, I feel like I'm further away from that than I am close to it.
Oh, absolutely, man. I think that was the first 21st I'd been to and shit. Like 8 years at that point or something.
Okay.
But it was probably fucking one of the best 21st I've been to as well. I mean, I went to a couple of crackers when I was back at home, but no, this was amazing. Yeah, I mean, we had Spod played, Palms. Unity Floors played that night as well. Straight Arrows.
Arrows,
there, and they got up and did a little impromptu set, which was
that's awesome.
Gnarly. It's been fun, man. Yeah, then we had Unity Floors back in January. Those two boys are awesome, mate.
Yeah, and you've had local guys. You've had Yeeves and
Sloom. I mean, the whole thing with like who we book and whatever is just like, I mean, bands that we just love.
You've done a fucking great job. And when did it actually start? Was it a year ago? Because we're actually recording this in June 2017. I don't think it'll probably be up till like September. So you probably you can plug a gig and I'll just make a computer voice repeat what the next gig would be.
Sweet. So the whole next run of shows we've got will be done before this. Yeah. Oh, perfect. Well, I can talk about them all then.
Just say the next show is.
Shit! Hell, I'm gonna have to go project myself into the future. And announce the next show before it's even been thought about.
Right, so October, you're going to have UMI, you're going to have...
I reckon, hey, I've just seen them the other night, actually. I'm pretty keen, hey. No, where were we going? What was happening?
I don't know. We got somewhere. I'll just put like a weird keyboard sound there, it'll be fine. Probably be a good place to pause it. Because usually like the first section's like 3 minutes. This was 30. You're from New Zealand, aren't you?
Oh my god, do you know this label? Flying Nun. Have you ever heard of Flying Nun?
Possibly, but I might be thinking of the show with Sally Field.
So Flying Nun, they were a label that started, Roger Shepherd was the guy behind it, and it spawned... Have you ever heard of like the term Dunedin sound?
No, but I know Dunedin, and I know it's a cultural hub of university students, and there would be a sound, so...
There was a sound.
What was the sound?
Apparently.
Was it reggae-shaped? I went on a university exchange, met a whole bunch of guys from Dunedin, and they all loved Cora, and I fucking fell in love with Cora.
No, Cora are amazing, man. Yeah, so like in New Zealand, there's a massive sort of dub reggae scene, which I grew up with as well. Like Fat Freddy's.
Fat Freddy's drop,
you got like Shapeshifter.
I think I really only know Cora. My knowledge is not great. But
660, like...
Right, yeah, okay.
There's a bunch of them now. But so this was sort of harking back to the like early 80s. It was the sort of post-punk new wave era. And this like little town at the time, Christchurch, one guy, Roger Shepherd, just got behind like a whole bunch of local bands. He's a bit of an inspiration, I guess you'd say. Sort of gave them a shot, like started pressing records for them, and it became this sort of like awesome underground. So there's bands like The Clean, The Chills, The Villains. It's a bit of a shame though. This is something that has flown under the radar. And still does.
I have like little sort of dots, I guess she had. Kiwis.
Yes. And actually, they were a band I flew down to Sydney to watch when I first moved to Australia.
Oh, yeah?
And I saw them at the Annandale. That was the only show that I've ever seen at the Annandale.
Right, okay. So that must be like kind of covered in like a sort of dreamic, otherworldly quality. You're like, that one time I got to see the Annandale in all its glory.
Yeah, I remember going for
was it She Had?
It was She Had, yeah.
So it must have been fucking packed.
Dude, it was gnarly. I mean, like, it was pretty much just full of fucking Kiwis, which is, I guess, pretty standard. But when you have a Kiwi band coming to Australia, it's just like,
The other one is
orchestra.
Yeah.
There's so much more to.
I'm so
into
ignorant.
after
I'm
this.
so ignorant.
No.
I mean, I have all the respect in the world for Crowded House, and I'm like a fucking diehard Liam Finn fan.
Mm-hmm.
So this is like me saying like I have black friends. You said you were studying music management.
Yeah.
Artist management. What was it?
Entertainment management, which is, it's basically just like a music business degree that covers like tour management, PR, like marketing, copyright.
I'm doing the PR stuff for my band at the moment with no training. Fucking nightmare.
Yeah.
Like I think that knowledge is fucking handy for what you need to do.
Well, it's a pretty amazing degree actually, to be honest. And at AIM in particular, there's just a bunch of amazing tutors, and yeah, they sort of like just feeding you the information of exactly where the sort of.
Were there any tutors that stood out?
Like Rob Cannon, who's amazing.
And what does he teach?
He taught a class called Creativity. He does marketing.
A class called Creativity.
Creativity, yeah. There's
wow.
a class on creativity. It's not the kind of like, let's get creative and take our clothes off and put paint on our bodies and stuff.
Yeah.
It's more just like dissecting the idea of where ideas come from and how you can better sort of equip yourself to understand how that works within yourself.
Did you find it useful? Do you find that you apply those principles?
Yeah.
Even unconsciously?
Well, yeah, it definitely makes you think about sort of like the certain conditions and when it is you sort of are best productive and whatnot, and sort of how you operate, whether or not maybe you sort of work better at night time or you want to get up straight first thing in the morning and just like smash
and
out
just
a whole bunch
to
of writing and work and whatever.
What
and trying to like feed in sort of like some ideas of like what could work and what doesn't work and and that sort of shit. Yeah, so it's actually quite a productive class. It's quite handy.
But you've got a pretty good, what you did on that mixing desk was with, I imagine, sort of ad hoc training here and there, or just sort of maybe doing it with people, or I put together a couple of like little open mic like acoustic nights. Right, okay.
With a couple of like uni mates at a couple of little places around like Surrey Hills, which is where the like campus is.
Did that have a name?
Where we were doing the nights?
Like even what the night was.
Oh no! So what like. I mean, one was at El Loco in Surrey Hills.
Right, okay.
I mean,
and
yeah, they were just
previously the Excelsior.
The Excelsior.
Were you in Sydney when there was the Excelsior?
Nah. We used to get some, because I ended up getting a bar job there after we'd done
El Loco,
put on live music nights there, and we'd always get a few random locals rock up and be like, "Oh, you know the old Excelsior, spring my reset band, sell it back there, and you spring out of ribbons." Just real cool old cats, eh?
I do love those guys. Like, there's the occasional crazy one.
Yeah.
I don't mean to say old guys. These are just guys in their fucking 50s, 60s. It's not old dudes, but they have a fucking knowledge of what Sydney was like back in the day.
Yeah.
And, like, I've got this mate, this guy, Dr. Manny Aston. Just the most fucking friendly guy. And the strangest thing, every person I've ever heard of with the name Manny has a ponytail.
Manny.
Like there's the guy from Jackass. They're wildlife friends, helper man. And then there's, I'm sure, some other Manny. I might just be thinking of Willie Nelson.
The third person you're thinking of is Benny Bianco, played by comedian Bill Bailey on the British television series Black Books.
Then there's Dr. Manny Aston, who does have a ponytail. He's telling me just fucking amazing stories about the scene back in the 80s. And it's interesting that some of those places I've played like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Just because they just sort of keep coming back. Like, the city kind of breathes in and breathes out all the time. And it's not always the same places breathing in and breathing out. Like, everyone thinks on a different clock. We mentioned King's Cross is clearly on a sort of pullback in that way. But since I've been 18, the Lansdowne has closed and reopened, I think, 3 times.
Really?
Nothing as big as this. This is a huge change.
Yeah.
But there were small changes then. There was a decent stage on the ground floor. Previous to that, there was a shitty stage. But it's closed and... I mean, it was supposed to be a music school. Now you're a bartender there.
Yeah. Well, like... Yeah, and it's amazing. So, what is it like now? 2 weeks running, it's been reopened. But yeah, the whole idea of a music school there,
it did seem odd.
Mean, yeah, like okay, if that's the place you want to put your music school, but it seems such a waste to have a building like that that is housed
it's
so many
fucking iconic.
Yeah, amazing
like
bands.
The shape of it is just like it's on that one of the fucking busiest intersections of two main arteries of Sydney.
Yeah. And just like having a music school there would have just been sort of like a waste of that space in a way. And
it was supposed to be Abbey Road, right? The Abbey Road were doing these trying to open up places, and I don't know what happened to it. I think that they're still doing it. It's not at the Lansdowne.
Yeah.
And then, as we were talking about before the podcast started, Matt Rule and what's the other rule?
The other rule is to never enter a laboratory without the teacher's permission. Always listen carefully to instructions. There are far too many people in the world. Do not run in the lab. Always wear goggles when told to do so. Keep a notebook of all the lives you have destroyed. Never eat or drink in a lab. Rules are based on courtesy, common sense, personal safety, and are designed to support learning. We must overthrow the United Nations.
Matt Rule, Dan Rule,
and then Jack, the son.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they went and fixed it up, and I haven't been there yet, but I look forward to it.
Man, it's looking amazing, hey. And also, like, this is the other kind of, like, exciting thing I think that's happening in Sydney now is, and it's what you sort of see everywhere, where there's a certain move towards, I guess, in general, you could say a bit of a shutdown of Sydney and certain areas of...
Well, King's Cross, you've got, I would say...
Street has, like...
Oxford Street, totally.
Definitely sort of died now.
I fucking hate going to Oxford Street now.
Yeah. It's...
I don't even know, I might not be able to include this because it might just be slander, but like... If Brighten Up Bar was fucking lifted off that street and put in Newtown or something... I would be fucking trying to book in there every week because I fucking love that place. Yeah,
100%. And I think...
It's difficult to get to.
Yeah, well, like, this is the thing as well with Sydney is, like living in, I guess, in the inner west, anytime you have to go to, like, the eastern suburbs, it seems like you're trying to fucking, like,
well, it's not on the way to anywhere, is it? I mean, it's everywhere else is on the way through to something. You'll always have maybe a slightly shorter way home. With that, it's just like you're either there to be there or you're not.
Yeah, 100%. And no, so like what's cool to see is that like the crew behind the reopening of the Lansdowne is like the guys Kenny and Jake behind Mary's and the Unicorn.
Yeah.
And there almost sort of seems to be this new sort of guard of like publicans coming in and being like, you know what, like kind of fuck what's happened to Sydney over the last sort of like 10 or 15 years, because it hasn't just happened in the last few years. There's been those Pope laws that came in the 90s and stuff.
So you think that the decline's been since the 90s, and I would agree with you.
Well, in terms of venues, not necessarily in terms of the music that's come out of, and the music and culture that's come out of Sydney hasn't died away, and I don't think it ever will, because you can kind of shut venues down and whatever, but you're not going to stop people kind of doing what they want to do.
Yeah.
And it's cool because there's this new sort of guard of like these guys coming in. These guys are reopening the Lansdowne, with like the Rule brothers that used to run the Annandale when the Annandale was the Annandale.
That's the thing. This is another oscillation. Remember, the Annandale was in trouble and they fucking reopened it. And then from the public's perspective anyway, from what you could see from the outside, it was going really well for quite a number of years, and then slowly, I think I don't understand the regulation aspect of it, but it became more onerous, and it was increasingly sort of buy a brick campaigns and things like that to get things going, and it always felt on the verge of closing for a really long time. So, and I feel like this is another oscillation where we're coming to, that nice breath in of fucking music and art and consistency and not being fucking sued or fined. No, well, but like in terms of a couple of venues, that's true. It's breathing out in some areas, like the Lansdowne. Yeah, well, there's these guys coming in and they're just like, you know what, like this and this is like
because there was a push towards like putting screens in pubs and pokies, just because it was like
it was
easy
so
money
bad,
and
yeah.
whatever, and these new guys coming through are sort of like, you know what, this is what's fucked Sydney, and this is what's kind of tainted its like social fabric and
totally.
culture around the city and whatever.
Like look at George Street. I mean, what the fuck is on George? A couple of things maybe in a side street, but George Street is any pub there has nothing to offer.
Yeah,
nothing.
I don't think I've been in the CBD. I like vehemently try to stay away from.
Yeah,
that
me
place
too.
as well.
I'm never there.
'Cause there's really nothing on offer that has any kind of decency about it.
It's also socio-economic as well, because there are some kind of cool bars that are kind of interesting to go to. I can't even think of any off the top of my head. There's that what's the prohibition themed bar that's
I know the place you're talking about.
Whatever it's called.
The bar you are referring to is Palmer & Co.
Cool layout. They've done everything really nicely, but you go in there and I just feel like I can't afford this shit. I don't belong here. Like I'm now at the point. There was a time where I have a degree in accounting and I worked in finance for quite a few years and then left.
So you could have been perched up in there somewhere.
Yeah, like I was part of that shit somewhat. Yeah. Like I wasn't really, but I always felt weird about it. I was just like, I don't like this. But you know, there was a time where I still felt like I was fine in that scene, but now I go there, I feel like a complete alien because I don't have any money. You know, I don't have. I'm probably not dressed right or whatever. Like,
and it's just not fun. Like, you look at the whole like Barangaroo development.
Yeah, isn't that fucking?
And they're just catering for, I don't know, just like not anyone in particular, but just like
vested interest.
And vested interest. Yeah, 100%.
And Barangaroo is a prime fucking example. Like, can you believe how far that went?
Yeah.
I mean, some of those original architects, I believe, I might have to check this, but I believe that they've like taken their names off it or, you know, resigned and stuff.
Oh, yeah. There was some people involved with this sort of, I think, this would probably have to be sort of checked as well, but with the planning and the idea of like what the space was going to be. And then there was sort of like fundamental changes to those ideas, and
I know City of Sydney was against all those changes, and that was more the New South Wales government, but that's probably as far as my understanding.
Yeah.
But the weird thing was that for some reason today, I ended up having a conversation with my co-workers about the Sydney Opera House, and the way it was built, and the guy who designed it, who was not Australian, he was Danish, I believe, and his name I forget, but his name is
Jorn Utzon. Please improve your general knowledge.
He did all these designs, and it was kind of this work in progress because as he was building it, they were finding more design problems because nothing like that had ever been done before.
Yeah.
And the arts or something minister at the time was breathing down his fucking neck, like, and then eventually just stopped paying the cash to him for what he was doing, so he couldn't pay his team.
Yeah.
And it was just like, and then he resigned and said, and the minister's like, good, thank you. And then he left Australia and vowed never to come back. And
so they just axed him.
They just fucked it. It fucked him over. Then they got another guy to, you know, complete it, and he did a pretty good job. But the acoustics in there are not nearly as good as you know. Sydney Opera House is beautiful externally, but inside it could have been so much more.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, I mean, Sydney Opera House is an amazing structure, and
it's kind of one of a kind. I can't think of a single thing that. You know, there's like MoMA and all that other stuff, and whatever you call it, that art gallery in Hobart.
Oh, the that one,
the MoFo, Dark MoFo,
MoMA,
is that New York?
For fuck's sake, it's named Mona, the Museum of Old and New Art. You stupid fuck.
Fuck it. Anyway, sorry, it's one of a kind, so that's probably not the best example. We are talking about Barangaroo, I guess, as well, which is pretty significant on its own. It's the exact same fucking oscillation. It's the same treatment and the same, you know, the original vision just getting slightly pushed to the side to such a degree. Like, the point is that big money keeps winning.
Well, that's I was just going to say that as well. Like, that's what it keeps coming back to, is the idea of just, like, the top end of town kind of always just having their right of way and having their say and being able to do what they want to do through their sort of like entitlement or their entitled position or whatever, and that's sort of like symptomatic of what's happening throughout like Sydney and even further abroad with a lot of other things. But,
well, it seems that the general trend is upward house prices.
Oakham Hills average house price, 1.15 million.
Well, this is, like I was saying just before as well, the pub next to us...
What's the pub called?
The pub is the Huntsbury.
Yeah,
and
Huntsbury.
It's probably one of the only, like, within this sort of, like, inner west area, maybe it's, like, still one of the only, like, legit
pubs.
Old school pubs, that's around. And...
The Salisbury in Stanmore, I would also vouch for that one,
But unfortunately, in about, maybe within a year, that place is going to be shut and 6 levels of apartments.
Oh, fuck.
An underground car park. Yeah, so right in between, and not only that, on the other side of us is going to be another set of apartments not long after that put up as well.
How long does it take to build a set of apartments? The culture is still there for now.
Yeah.
For now. You got to wonder. Like, you don't know when it's going to kind of fade out like it did with, Paddington and...
Yeah.
Is slowly doing so in Newtown. I don't think Newtown's quite the same, but the capacity for DIY or anything really interesting or out of the box is severely limited to... You look at the way art is now, and you just need to kind of view the City of Sydney... What's on Sydney website, which is, those very colourful squares and everything's high res and they've got a nice description. There's an admission fee and there's all that information and it's approved and it's blah, blah, blah. And even that shit fucking doesn't matter because you still get shut down if you're part of Vivid Festival. But it's this very sort of, I don't want to say Kate Blanchetted, but I guess like this sort of Kate Blanchett view of art.
Yeah.
Not that she has that view. I fucking totally believe that Kate Blanchett is a wonderful person. I'm sorry. I love you, Kate Blanchett.
You're all right, Kate.
But it's that kind of Kate Blanchett theatre stage. We're doing something valuable here. When so much of the value of art is in the grime, yeah.
Well, it doesn't. You don't become the sort of big end of town without it like fermenting.
Yeah, tickling the balls of the opera people.
Exactly.
So you were doing a movement.
I was doing some kind of little rain dance tickle thing. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was.
No, but you can't get anywhere without just doing that shit. But I feel like when Vivid Festival started, I went to see Fleet Foxes, and I love that band very much. Never got to see them. They came back. They reformed. They came back out. I was so stoked. Went and saw them, and it was fucking beautiful. But it was an expensive ticket, and you got the nice thing, and you got the champagne in the nice glass, and the bar. There's their boom boom. The show starts in 10 minutes. Everybody. Yeah. Come inside and get your seats. We're going to watch the Fleet Foxes. Oh, the light's out. Oh, and then a couple of people go, woo! And it's like, oh, isn't it cool that everyone's excited inside the Opera House where we're supposed to be fucking bored? And it was beautiful and it was haunting and truly one of the most unique concerts I'd ever seen. We had a nice sort of side of stage seat and it was just beautiful to watch. But it was missing. It was missing the grit. Every music I want to listen to it has to have that.
Yeah, just I guess the element of maybe what something is with its sort of spontaneity or its unhinged sort of.
And we're seeing, I think with bands now, we're seeing a bit of a rise in that. We're seeing with Pissed Idiots and Crocodilus and there's plenty of other examples.
Well, I mean, even guys like yourself as well, like Wow 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 and it's that you guys have played with Light Entertainment and
I think Light Entertainment, I think I would class them as kind of pretty sophisticated.
Oh, that's sophisticated, but
they get trashy when they want to.
Pretty gnarly as well.
Fucking trebly guitar in some of their songs. There's this one song where James from Light Entertainment is just on the guitar up the front and he's just hammering it. I can't believe his strings aren't just broken in the first 3 seconds.
Yeah.
And it's like all up the treble end, and it's just... It's fucking amazing.
Man,
so, yeah, they have some trash as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, but sorry, I got distracted by that fucking point.
As you do, man.
Yeah.
No, but this is, like, and this is what's cool, is that even with all the shit that's happened and the kind of trying to shut down certain areas and places and whatever, like, people are still going to do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah.
And, like, within whatever genre, like, I mean, ourselves, we cover, I guess, like, anything that fits in a sort of garage, surf, punk, like, realm or whatever.
Yeah.
That sort of broader scale.
Well, you put on Yeeves, which sounded quite different to other bands, but, like, you listen to the instrumentation, and it's fucking, you know, bang on the money, you know, it fits right in.
And those guys are just fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Actually, they got a single launch coming up.
They
really
do,
soon, don't
yeah.
they, as well, yeah.
I think it's end of July. Anyway, it'll be long after this actually goes to air.
The only thing that's actually,
but I'm sure it'll be doing very well.
The album's probably out by now, isn't it?
It's amazing.
Tune in, isn't it? Just 5 out of 5. But absolutely. Like, people are just still gonna do what they want. You're not gonna stop people from, like, making music, putting on shows, and that's one of the things I've noticed, sort of working in a bar in Sydney over the last few years, and just talking to people about, like,
You're talking about the Rose and where else did you work?
El Loco before
El
that
Loco.
as well, and now the Lansdowne. But just even within sort of like extended circles of friends and whatnot, there's still so many people out there that are putting on shows and, like, playing in bands and are actually like actively keeping everything going and moving.
Like, I mean,
and
we played the Pirate House. That was fucking cool.
Yeah. How
Like,
cool is that place?
Yeah, it's
like,
awesome.
And that place is so unsuspecting. And
that's the thing. Hibernian House. You know, you can't find fucking information about it online. It's not there. You just have to know and be there.
And they exist. And that's also the slight downfall. I was actually just talking about this with someone over the bar the other night that I'd met a few times, and
at the Lansdowne.
At the Lansdowne, and we were saying that it's awesome because there are people still, and him himself, he puts on a bunch of nights at Frida's and whatnot. And we were saying it's cool because people are still doing things and there's still places to go, but because of the way it's moved, say maybe slightly away from venues and to sort of warehouses and houses and whatever, and that kind of scene, it's slightly more exclusive than inclusive as well, in a way. Yeah. It's you sort of have to know about it if it's going on.
Totally. And that's and I have a problem with that in some ways. Like, it's like it has to be a secret. Like, it's like that kind of thing. Like, which means it does become kind of a cool question. Like I'm you know, you need to know people, but, like, look, if I just moved here and didn't have any, like, mates and wanted to start music, that's the thing. Like, over the last few years, I've sort of been engaged in that thing, and I'm just like, fuck, I've not really been in this fucking scene at all.
Yeah.
I don't really, like, know anyone in bands or anything like that. I only know a couple of friends that are in completely different scenes.
Yeah.
So it's quite interesting to actually, you know, it was quite good to go to those things, but, like, you do want to open it up for the fucking nerdy kid that just, like, it sucks that you can't just tell people the information.
Yeah.
You have to keep, it has to be this fucking covered up thing.
That's it, for risk of it being shut down or for risk of it, like, not being able to continue and whatever, but I can totally sympathise with the idea of not knowing what things go on, like moving to Sydney, 4 years ago or so, and trying to sort of, like, find your place here and stuff, and where things are and what it is, like, what places it is that you want to go to and the bands that are playing that you want to see and stuff. And it takes a little while.
It's a little bit weird entering places for the first time. Like, it's kind of like there's all these unknown rules, all these unknown sort of spots that people know about, and then you're just like, holy shit, how did I not know about this before? But they keep popping up, you know?
100%, yeah.
I'm constantly surprised by something. I was surprised when we played Hibernian House. I'm sure there's a million other places like that lurking in the woodwork.
And that's it. Yeah, there's it was really funny when sort of like lockout laws were affecting Sydney, and there's been a sort of a negative push towards sort of just late night culture and whatnot.
Well, there's this sort of association with late night culture of drug overdoses and those kind of things are just hedonism and just fucking excess.
Yes, yeah.
But the intrinsic value, like, where the fuck would AC/DC play today? I feel like such a sort of shock jock radio person when I say that. Just like, where would AC/DC play today? They would have nowhere to play. We would never have another Andrew Johns or something.
Where would AC/DC play actually today?
They would be fucking loud. They would be. Their whole sound is just so loud you cannot hear it at low volume. They're like Crocodilus,
Yeah.
I wouldn't go to a Crocodilus acoustic show. Apologies if they've booked a Crocodilus acoustic show, but
Yeah, no, I hear you on that, man. I hear you on that.
And that's not to say there's anything wrong with acoustic music. It's just we're talking about this grit. We're talking about these things that matter.
The nice, gnarly, like, louder side of things. Like, I don't know, this might sound a bit contrived to say, but...
No, it's all right. This whole podcast has just been pure, like, just like, I think that Sydney's live music is in trouble.
What we're doing is so much fucking better and cooler.
It's just like...
I don't know, like Newtown, you look at Newtown now and... With lockout laws, like...
It's all... The nightlife is centred there.
Yeah, and so now it's like... crowds that would have gone to maybe the city or King's Cross are now going to Newtown, and then maybe it's pushing a certain crowd sort of further east.
Well, I remember when I lived in Darlington, I would, if I was walking back after 12, fucking dead. Absolutely dead. I remember being surprised, being just like, I am surprised that Newtown is completely dead after 12.
Yeah.
Not so much anymore. It's which isn't a bad thing. Like, that's good, but it's like, it's just become the default, whereas Newtown had something else to offer.
No, there's some other cool stuff that was happening as well before this whole like council amalgamation, where they were looking at the bottom end of like Sydenham Road. Where there's like the Marrickville Bolo, Red Rattler, a couple of little studios here as well. They were looking at like rezoning that so that could potentially be turned into a late night precinct. Yeah, and...
Get a couple of shuttle buses to Newtown Station?
Yeah, man.
Sorted.
Well, yeah, and like, I don't know, I think there's, as much as like, people want to sort of bag Sydney, and there's heaps of bullshit going on. Like, there is some bullshit going on, and you have to be able to deal with that, but... people are still able to do what they want to do, and there's still people that are championing like what Sydney could be, and some of these like cool little ideas
it's not really helpful to just say Sydney sucks.
Yeah, no, it really isn't. Like 100, I totally agree with that, man.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. Like, I'm moving to Melbourne.
I'm fucking moving to Melbourne. Yeah, and
Sydney sucks, and it's just like But there's still great things here, and they're kind of even greater because they have evolved. It's like the flower that fucking blooms out of the weird rock face. Like, that fucking looks the brightest.
Yeah, like, if anything, they've just sort of put the power in the hands of people that put shows on, and it's cool because people are still doing things and there's still places to go.
Okay, Ty Segall is from Orange County. Love Ty Segall.
Yeah.
Like, what an output.
Listen to him. Actually, I was listening to him on the walk here.
Yeah.
Okay. I love the man. Then your little Sentimental Goblin EP.
I don't know that, and that, of course I don't know it because there's so much fucking music.
Because it's just like, how can the fuck can you keep up with what that guy puts out? Yeah.
Point was that if Ty Segall can grow out of an area like Orange County, fucking homeland of the hills.
Yeah.
Wait, no, that's the Hollywood Hills. What the beach or Laguna Beach, whatever that shit is. If he can fucking find a way to grow his shit within that, there's some way to make Sydney work. I don't know whether it's because what would it take? One person to just fucking go, we're all moving to fucking Menai, and it's gonna be the new arts fucking area. Like we're gonna start putting gigs on Menai. Like it's really hard to fucking be just like, all right, everyone, let's go. Like you can't because inevitably you don't have the push behind you. People aren't going to go with you, but that does happen. You know, look at Brooklyn.
Yeah, it's so fragmented as well.
Yes.
Because I guess when you take it away from venues and the sort of established places that have housed music over the years, it becomes very sort of genre specific and like quite niche and whatever, and so you have all these little...
I forget you guys are a genre because you guys are so like exactly what I want to hear. I'm just like, they've got everything. They've got all the fucking colours of the rainbow, and I'm just like, my rainbow is such a short rainbow. Yeah, but there are different areas for it.
Yeah. And so... Yeah, and that's the thing as well, which takes it back to the idea of it being sort of like a bit more exclusive in that as well, is because you have people putting on nights that are curated purely for sort of certain things.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's sort of as while it's like super healthy, it's less accessible.
Yeah.
Which is like, it's not something that, like with what we do, that's definitely not the idea. Like, I mean, we put on bands and nights around what we enjoy, which I guess as well plays into the idea of it.
Well, I feel like you guys have people trust you guys with your night curation.
Mm-hmm.
I certainly fucking do. If you guys put on a band that I don't know, I'll look them up.
Yeah,
you do have, but obviously, I'm on the fucking same wavelength as you musically for the most part. So and I sometimes wonder because I feel like I'm relatively on that same wavelength, and so are all these people who are going to the Psyched As shows, who are so attuned to that sort of garage psyche, but really anything sound. How I feel like that's sort of a kind of specific quadrant of subgenres. What other shit is there, and where is that going on? Like, obviously I don't know about warehouse raves and anything like that. But what about reggae? Is there some sort of weird reggae repository?
There has to be. Yeah, like that's the thing. See, it's not kind of my scene as well, but I mean that's the beauty as well of like working in a bar is you're working with a bunch of generally younger people than I am.
That always helps you to keep switched on.
Yeah. If you can surround yourself with younger people, you can stay cool, kids.
Yeah, I agree with that. As part of the old man band, I can vouch for this. It is interesting for us actually because it's like we doing gigs for 21st and stuff like that, and we're all like 28, 29. Like
I should be fucking like well in bed by now, you little shits.
I saw Particles at the Bald-Faced Stag.
Yeah, okay.
Fucking great. I would love to see them in a room that's supposed to sound good.
Yeah.
Because it's like it wasn't the band room of the Bald-Faced Stag.
No, yeah, just at the front of like on the Parramatta Road at the by the bar there. Yeah.
She's fucking nuts, man.
But they fucking put some cool nights on at the Bald-Faced Stag, and this is another venue, so playing on the idea of like a new wave of people taking over sort of Sydney venues and being like, fuck like the Pokies and some of this other shit that's kind of killed a few places. So there's some new dudes taking over that place, and they're going to pull out the Pokies and make a bigger band room.
Wait, hang on. We're talking about the Bald-Faced Stag here.
Yeah.
So because I didn't see that band room on Saturday night, but it's probably been about a year or two since I've been to the band room, but it's pretty fucking big.
Yeah, it is itself already, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I think the idea behind them doing this is sort of with what's going on with the like live music office and the task force that have like presented this report to the Inner West Council about kind of opening up spaces and this like Parramatta precinct that they want to do.
Yeah.
And so I think it's off the back of that they're trying to like expand this band room and open up the space there.
Yeah.
But it's cool, yeah. Like,
dude, it could be 2 fucking band rooms.
Well,
it could be 2 awesome band rooms.
Yeah, 100%. No, but they actually have some cool nights still there at
the front.
Yeah. On a Thursday night, they have a night called No Refunds. Actually, another really cool Sydney band. They're playing there. What are we? Tuesday? Yeah. I mean, this is all doesn't really matter because
this won't be up for a while.
The days and the weeks don't matter in this kind of realm. But no, another cool Sydney band, Orion.
Orion,
there on Thursday night. Yeah, you know, there's that crew. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, and that's another little night that I don't know. It's another little night that caters to another little crowd that.
Yeah.
You know, if that place wasn't operable, then it wouldn't exist, and it might not matter to people that 100 people go there maybe, or 50 people go there to watch a certain band, but it fucking matters to those people. And
totally.
And like, why fucking take that away from them, and why like wreck those opportunities, and more so for the bands that are going through there.
And I think some of it has to relate to just obviously the government is going to prioritize planning over development and money and money, fucking all that shit.
Money rules.
Like money, family votes, you know, big influence, fucking big tobacco, fucking big pharma,
subsidizing,
all sucking on the government teat
fees. I'll subsidise your kindergarten fees over fucking opening a new live music venue. Thank you very much.
Procreate. Aging population, procreate.
But only procreate if you believe in the same things that we believe in, which is like just fucking being a cunt. Entitled cunt.
Isn't that? I hate that fucking shit when there's like that with the people who are like the most entitled. You might earn 1,000 times as much as I do. Do you think that you work 1,000 times as much as I do?
They just inherently think they're better. I'm just a better person because I wear a suit and I fucking work in the CBD.
Yeah. Well, it's like vaccinations. like in the fucking really rich suburbs, there's a lower rate of vaccinations because there's all these like fucking parents going like, I've done my research. I'm rich. I'm educated. I'm an authority.
Yeah.
Sorry, I veered on a tangent there, but I just watched a John Oliver thing and it set me off course.
Oh, how good is that? Is that
last week tonight?
Yeah.
You can lock into
Dude's
those.
amazing,
Perfect length.
Yeah.
Perfect length.
Yeah, 100%, man. That guy's nailed the balance between informative like journalism and sort of internet like lol culture.
Yeah. He and whoever thought that merging those two would be that obvious, then he's literally saying informative things and then it's just like the hamster that goes up to you after Christmas. Something more relevant than that.
But I fucking love that guy. I really do. He's amazing. John Oliver.
Yeah, he's
but it's awesome that there's a British dude who's like nailing sort of like that late night role and just like bossing it, just like being like this is what the fuck's up and you guys have fucked up and you don't know what's up and this is what's happening and like I'm gonna tell you and you're gonna laugh and you're gonna actually think about it as well probably.
I reckon all those fucking things that he's talked about have all resonated with me. I watched one on infrastructure. And he was talking about how it's like the least sexy topic, but it needs to happen. Yeah. And I watched that, and every time I see something about infrastructure, I'm just like, well, we should fund infrastructure projects because I saw the John Oliver thing.
I love the whole infrastructure thing as well when it comes to budget time and just like how much money they spend on infrastructure. Infrastructure, we need to build more shit. 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 Infrastructure, we need to build more. 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 Infrastructure, we need to build more.
All right, Dickie Mills.
Yes.
From Psyched As, the DIY gig outlet thing. Outlet? I don't know. Direct factory outlet of live music.
Direct factory outlet to you.
We did not really delve into your story at all, but that's fine. I'm sure you're going to come back sometime and then we'll delve into it properly.
Yeah, look, there was some of the story was said, some of it wasn't. There's parts that were touched on.
I may have gotten distracted.
Yeah, look, that happens.
The cat walked in, all this shit happened. Thank you very much for being on the show. I do have to ask, what song would you like to finish on?
Let's finish on an amazing Sydney band.
Yeah?
These guys, Unity Floors.
You love Unity Floors, don't
man,
you?
I can't stop obsessing with them. They're amazing.
People really get behind them. I know you're fucking... Well, I've seen you wear that shirt, right?
Yeah, Gus and Henry, that's the two dudes. And
you wear that shirt, right?
Yeah. The Pizza Hut, like, Unity Floors
You were wearing
shirt.
I saw you. You wear that shirt. Sorry.
Every fucking day. No, those guys are awesome. So if you can throw in some Unity Floors there somewhere, I'd be like most impressed.
All right, awesome. We played it in the segment before this. Here's something else.
End bracket.